2018 is finally here, and it promises to be yet another exciting year for gaming. There are many unknowns, of course, but many of us have a feeling that something special could happen this coming year. In this video, I want to take a look at some RPG sequels we might see happen, or at the very least see announced over the course of the year. Though I have no concrete evidence for any of these, I do believe that we will see some of them for sure. Tyranny 2. Probability very likely. RPG powerhouse Obsidian Entertainment launched their Tyranny CRPG on November 10th of 2016, and it was generally received as a good game, if not quite as good as their preceding 2015 title, Pillars of Eternity. However, the game has been set up to be a franchise as witnessed by the ending of the first game, and as anyone who has played the game will tell you. What we have now seen with Pillars of Eternity for console and the development of Pillars of Eternity 2 Deadfire is that Obsidian is committed to their games once they publish them, so it wouldn't be unlikely to see an announcement this year. The game runs on the Unity engine, so they would simply need to write the story and make any needed adjustments to the game's mechanics. And based on what we've seen on the development speeds for sequels to Pillars and Divinity Original Sin from Larian Studios, this process doesn't take any longer than 2 years. This would put the launch of Tyranny follow-up sometime in the fall of this year. Expect an announcement at E3. Titan Quest II. Probability unlikely. With the recent addition of the Ragnarok expansion to the decade-old hack-and-slash RPG Titan Quest, on top of the console launch of the remastered version coming in March of 2018, one cannot help but wonder what is happening with this franchise. Why now? Why wait so long? What is going on at THQ Nordic? Could we really see a Titan Quest II? There are a lot more questions than answers to be sure, but we've reached out to our friends at THQ Nordic to try and get some, so perhaps we'll have an update on this soon. I would be amazed if we heard something this coming year, but it's not impossible because they are enhancing the first game's graphics for console, which weren't bad to begin with. It's not inconceivable that they may use an updated engine or an entirely new one at that for a possible sequel, since graphics are not an issue with these sort of games. Dragon Age 4. Probability very likely. Having been 3 years now since the release of Dragon Age Inquisition, which garnered positive reception and is considered an improvement over Dragon Age 2, we're fairly confident we could be seeing the first images and trailers for the next installment of this series in 2018. Some information about the game's development was revealed earlier this year, but not a lot of information is currently known, other than that it is in development. Whether it's this coming year or the following, we do know that it's on the way. The only questions are when, and what it will have in common with the other games. Diablo 4. Probability unlikely. Another game we'd very much like to see announced in 2018 is Diablo 4, or at least an online variation of it, such as a Diablo MMO. The 2012 Diablo 3, despite its many shortcomings, was widely considered a success, and I think many players still trust the Blizzard brand enough to purchase a sequel just on the possibility that it may be mind-blowing. It's also likely that Blizzard learned from their mistakes and will be smarter this time around. They aren't the most stable gaming company in the world for no reason. Blizzard waited more than a decade to publish Diablo 3 after releasing Diablo 2 in 2000, however, so we may still be a few years away from any revelation. One can only hope that they don't make us wait as long on this go, and at very least we be given some sort of information by making an announcement. Salt and Sanctuary 2. Probability likely. With the smashing success of Salt and Sanctuary, many players are left with that yearning for more. Ska Studios sold more than 1 million copies of their 2D Souls-like, and it was one of the biggest hits of 2016, prompting us to wonder what is next for the small indie studio. Will they make a sequel to this breakout game? They have been spending a great deal of time patching their game and working to bring the title to PS Vita, which just happened in March of 2017. But it's been nearly 2 years since the release of Salt and Sanctuary, and we believe we may hear something about the development of Ska's next title in 2018. However, whether it's Salt and Sanctuary 2 remains to be seen. The Elder Scrolls 6. Probability very likely. The Elder Scrolls 6 is a game that many people thought we'd see come to fruition in 2017, or minimally hear about. Unfortunately, that did not happen, but we do know that Bethesda has been releasing an Elder Scrolls game about once every 5 to 6 years or so, and 2018 will mark the 7th year since Skyrim's launch, and with so many remakes and remasters of that version, we're really hoping the next installment will come this fall. The likelihood of a sequel has taken a bit of a hit since the release of The Elder Scrolls Online, in much the same way that Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 3 did when BioWare made the franchise into an MMO with The Old Republic. Nevertheless, the series is way too large and too popular to be outright ignored, and so we have a gut feeling that this is the year we could finally get news on The Elder Scrolls 6. Keep in mind that Bethesda has yet to release any new Elder Scrolls game ever since ESO came around during this console generation. Neverwinter Nights 3, Baldur's Gate 3, or Icewind Dale 3. Probability unlikely. Thanks to Obsidian's Pillars of Eternity and Larian's Divinity Original Sin 2, the CRPG genre is in full-blown revival mode, and we fully expect to see more of these types of games announced in 2018. Recently, we learned that the 2002 Neverwinter Nights is being remastered and will be available sometime next year. This makes it seem all the more likely that we might see more D&D games in the near future. Could one of these be a sequel? It's not impossible, but it's also not super likely either. The popular MMORPG Neverwinter probably has something to say about it, and the existence of the title has probably slowed any development on any other Forgotten Realms titles. Regardless, we'd absolutely love to hear about any of these titles in 2018, and would not be shocked if we did. Dragon's Dogma 2, probability likely. Capcom has spent a great deal of time marketing Dragon's Dogma and even remastered it for the current generation hardware after launching it on PC 4 years after its original release in 2012. We know the game is universally popular, and we know that Capcom has made Dragon's Dogma Online in Japan. Is it possible they will be announcing a sequel to Dragon's Dogma sometime soon? Yes, it is possible, although they may bring the online version instead. Because it has been 5 years since the game first launched, it becomes more and more likely we'll be seeing the sequel with each passing year, as is the case with many titles on our list. The IP is simply too good to waste and leaves us to wonder why we have not heard anything by now. Capcom is a tight-lipped company, and they tend to keep their cards close to their vest. Demon's Souls 2, probability unlikely. As mystery and speculation surrounds From Software's new project Shadows Die Twice, many of us are left wondering if it's possible that Demon's Souls may be remastered, or perhaps if even a sequel is in the cards. It is widely believed within the community that the Souls franchise is over, at least for the foreseeable future, but does that include Demon's Souls? It's tough to say with any certainty, and with the upcoming closure of every Demon's Souls server, it makes you wonder if they aren't planning something for Sony's PlayStation 4, the brand of console that started it all. While it is far more likely that a remaster would happen over an actual sequel, it doesn't mean that we can't hope for one. Demon's Souls 2 might just be the breath of fresh air everyone got from Bloodborne, which retained just enough similarities that players felt at home. Only time will tell, and we'll be right there ready to let you guys know if that does happen. Bloodborne 2, probability likely. Bloodborne was an outstanding success and proved that From Software could take their Souls formula and apply it to another premise with a new story, but still make it work. For many veterans of FromSoft's titles, Bloodborne is by far the best game since Dark Souls or Demon's Souls for them, because while it maintained the Soul series' essence, it also managed to be different enough, and it was something that subsequent sequels to the Soul series lacked. From Software would be foolish to not make more of the Gothic title simply because hordes of fans want it. We have seen some interesting things on this front to be sure, including action figurines, a clothing line, and more figures, in addition to a Bloodborne the card game and a comic titled The Death of Sleep coming in 2018 as well. The recent half-minute Shadows Die Twice teaser also gives off a Bloodborne vibe, along with the Sony's head of marketing Yasuhiro Kitao moving to From Software. We will find out for sure this year if From's next game is indeed Bloodborne 2, and I for one really hope that it is. If not, I'll take a Demon's Souls 2 if that's not too greedy. What are your guys' thoughts? Do we miss sequels that we may hear about in 2018 you'd like to see? Let us know in the comments below.